everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Marshashana Yoga Show. We shoot our show here at Milford TV in Milford, Massachusetts. My son, Mark Mancuso, is the director and is presently in the planning stages of a new show, which will center around the special needs community. Anyway, we just passed our 40th episode milestone, and that is so cool. Also, when the studio recently expanded, allowing for more space and technology, they included the longest running shows as part of I guess you'd say, Wall of Honor. At the grand opening, we unveiled the portrait. It was a great surprise and delight for Mark and I. My son is the reason I do this show. But I do really love sharing my knowledge of yoga with you, my students. I am relatively new at teaching, about 5 years now, and learning all the time. So I have a great desire to carry this knowledge forward to others. In yoga, we understand that mind, body, and spirit make the whole. We try to attend to all of these, thus creating a balance that is very important to our wellness, both physical and mental. Now, we talked about the koshas, those layers of the subtle body, and we know that for most people, the yogic path starts at the Annamaya kosha, the physical body. It just makes sense. If there is a divineness within each of us, then we must start outward and move in. Bingo. This is where I started. My path as a yoga teacher is probably a bit unusual. I started as the cleaning lady at the yoga studio, and while the rest is, as they say, history. So I did start at the physical level by doing yoga kinda, sorta, regularly. I had 2 young children and didn't always make it to class. My yoga teacher, Kathy Mann, nudged me along. I was a difficult student, particularly in teacher training, where I was fearful and felt out of my element. I wrestled with depression and was having seizure activity. As I moved along and became more regular, more diligent in my yoga, the other pieces began to fall into place. I began to think about my breath and to engage more in proper breathing. In other words, developing and strengthening the diaphragm by controlling the breath. Pranamaya kosha. Of course, after a while, this leads to the calming of the mind, and you can begin to look at what is going on inside your head, Manamaya kosha. This, speaking from my own experience, leads to the next, meditation. If you think about that next kosha, moving inwards towards the spirit body, it is known as the wisdom sheath. This is a place of our intellect and also our intuition. It's where we kind of separate the consciousness from where it is all caught up in what we are thinking or doing, and become more aware of what we are thinking or doing. So here we continue to work towards that Annamaya kosha, the real self or the soul or whatever you want to think of it as. Anyway, I have recently, almost a year ago now, come to a place where I thought I should add this meditation piece to my life. Now, of course, I did some of this in training. We touch on so many things in training. And even if you never even if you never taught, it's wonderful to go through the 200-hour teacher training. It teaches you so much. So go see Kathy Mann down at the yoga studio in Millis if you're in the area, and get in on that teacher training. So eye-opening. But I did not become committed. Remember that word tapas? One of the niyamas that means being diligent in our practice? Until recently. It just felt right. So I began with 5 minutes almost a year ago, and I had increased it to 20 minutes recently. This may sound easy, 5 minutes? It is not, at least not for me. But I decided to practice my tapas and continue. I actually just cut that back to 10 minutes because I had become so rigid in it that, get a load of this, I wasn't breathing fully. I realized that I was too stressed, and I decided to do more meditative walking or just being in nature in addition to the 10 minutes in the morning. Now, this is a personal thing to be adjusted to suit you. So, let's talk about the ways that you can meditate. There is no right or wrong way to meditate, so I want to make that clear. But there are ways to help you clear the mind so that you can focus on your breath. Remember, the breath is the vehicle for the consciousness. Where the breath goes, the consciousness follows. Ram Dass, in his book Journey of Awakening, a meditator's guidebook, says that people come to meditation for many different reasons. To calm a mind or to ease a pain, but along the path, one also learns that pain and suffering are part of it all and can be faced with equanimity because we accept the transitory nature of things. Ram Dass says that enlightened people have always said that we shouldn't cling to experiences or possessions that are in time, because this brings us suffering. Why? Because everything changes. Because both pleasure and pain exist in time. We must therefore look what lies beyond pleasure and pain, beyond time. I quote from Ram Dass's book, "The great sages have warned again and again about things in time. Buddha said, cling not to that which changes. And Christ said, lay not up your treasures where moth and rust doth corrupt." Both are saying the same thing, though they use different images. The truth is one and the same. Meditation moves us away from the outside senses, inward, and it is a very, very personal path. People feel many different things when meditating. Some feel nothing at all. Some think the mind seems busier, but it is probably just that you are becoming more aware of your mind. Some people think it is boring, and I'll admit it can be difficult to sit there, but it's good to set a goal of a few weeks just so that you give yourself a chance. Some people have incredible, ecstatic experiences. Either way, just move gently through it. You should not set up expectations, but just let things be. Well, we have to take care of and strengthen the body so that we can sit in a meditation posture for a period of time. In fact, this was one of the most interesting yoga-related facts for me. The asanas or postures were there to strengthen the body to sit in meditation, not vice versa, as one might think. So for a beginner, it's good to sit in a straight back chair, if that is what suits you, with the goal of sitting with spine straight without a chair back, or to sit in a cross-legged position on a floor or pillow. And back to that busy mind. We are in an information frenzy where people continually absorb information. With this comes more stress. Meditation can help, almost like a mini vacation. So where do you meditate? It's good to have a place that is out of the way, a peaceful spot in your home without distractions. Once you get into it for a bit, you can meditate while waiting in line or whatever. But to begin, it's probably good to have a serene place. It's best to meditate at the same time each day. Morning is probably best, but it is up to the individual, of course. Try not to be discouraged, but to continue the practice. I try to be regular in my practice. I figure if I want to see results, I probably need to do that. I'll keep you posted. You could also meditate in a group setting. You can check online for such events. I did a wonderful hour of oming with a group at the Enchanted Fox in Medway. So what's so hard about sitting still and watching your breath? Well, the mind wanders, maybe more for some than others, but for me, a lot. I want to stay focused on that little crystal or candle or whatever, but my thoughts keep luring me away. I remember and move back to the breath. It's frustrating at how much time my mind spends on other stuff, and I want to scold myself, but that is not the way to do it. Do not judge yourself. Just return to the breath. Yep, that's what the sages say, so I try not to judge myself. So there are different ways to meditate. It might be good to start by focusing on an object. Many use a candle, or a part of the body, or on a mantra. We must develop the skill of concentration, and this happens when we practice. We also begin to notice how our thoughts pull us away, and how we are attached to our thoughts. We watch the breath. We don't try to control it or anything, we just observe the breath. As thoughts tug us away, we just return to the breath. Focusing on the tips of the nostril or the rise and fall of the abdomen can be helpful in maintaining focus. A mantra can assist with the attending. This repetition can keep you from straying to other thoughts. A mantra can be almost anything you like, but it should connect you with the sacred, whatever that means to you. Of course, Om works for many. Also Ram or a favorite prayer. You can add mala beads to focus more on your mantra. These are similar to the rosary beads that Catholics use. Contemplation is a form of meditation too. I love to read my morning readings from various sources and to think about these. I love to read and reread spiritual materials and to try to understand more about our changing natures. I have tuned into that idea that if I observe the goings on and the sometimes madness of the crazy monkey mind, I can rein it in a bit, can face life with more equanimity than I once could as I come upon the mountains and valleys of my life. Ram Dass talks about devotion too. And you know, as one of the niyamas, tapas is based on the idea of being diligent in our practice, that fiery practice. And when we sit in our sacred place and meditate on an object, especially something that is holy to you, you can allow your heart to open more. I think it's impossible to do yoga and meditate and not become more compassionate. Singing can assist in meditation too. Singing mantras or devotional songs moves us along the path. Perhaps just singing a prayer of your own particular liking. Meditation can also include physical movement, such as in walking, or such things as yoga postures, hand mudras, Sufi dancing, and martial arts. Or it can involve visualization of a calm, sweet place. Once again, we go back to that word, mindfulness. It's that idea of being present in the moment, not going over the past stuff or forward to the future events, just being here now. That can be applied to all areas: work, walking, time with the kids, etc. In yoga, it's compared to becoming childlike. We see this in spiritual teachings as well. This meditating is pretty new stuff to me. So when I read the following, I realized how true this really is. And it's something that just happens, I think. You can't rush it or push things, but just slowly moving along. I'll read from that book by Ram Dass again. At each stage, there will be something you can do to create a supportive space. It may mean changing your diet, who you are with, how you spend your time, what's on your walls, what books you read, what you fill your consciousness with, how you care for your body, or where and how you sit to meditate. All these factors contribute to the depth and freedom that you can know through meditation. As you continue meditating and practicing your yoga, you may notice a shift in your eating habits. This happened very gradually for me, but over time I found myself eating less and less red meat and processed foods. Again, that word awareness. I just never thought much about what I was really putting into my body. I never really thought enough about that at all. But there was a shift in my thinking, and I don't know exactly when it started. Yes, all of these things have happened in a gradual fashion to me. For instance, I used to love watching the murder investigation shows, but I cannot do it anymore. I was a huge Stephen King fan, having read all his books through the years, except the last one, which is still sitting there. It was given to me, and I am unable to read it. Don't know how else to put it. I don't even keep it in my room. You can also meditate with friends, but never trying too hard to persuade them that this is the thing to be doing. In groups and with a teacher. It's really good to have a teacher. I have had the incredible experience of having about a half a dozen sessions with a great meditation teacher, Siri Madhu Sayed. And in addition to all this, now let's talk science, because I always love that part. Over the past month, I've been reading a book given to me by my cousin and good friend Jeannie called Full Catastrophe Living. It's written by John Kabat-Zinn, a PhD and president of Mind Body Health Sciences, and author of several books. This is about his research, which was done in the Boston area involving meditation and stress. It's based on the idea of meditating 45 minutes a day, and it is done in a group setting with people from all walks of life and different issues. He looks closely at the connection between mind and body. Here's what he says, quote, "When something goes wrong with our body or mind, we have the natural expectation that medicine can make it right, and often it can. But as we will see further on, our active collaboration is essential in almost all forms of medical therapy. It is particularly vital in the case of chronic diseases or conditions for which medicine has no cures. In such cases, the quality of your life may greatly depend on your own ability to know your body and mind well enough to work at optimizing your own health within the bounds, always unknown, of what may be possible." Taking responsibility for learning more about your own body by listening to it carefully and by cultivating your inner resources for healing and for maintaining health is the best way to hold up your end of this collaboration with your doctors and with medicine. This is where the practice comes in. It gives power and substance to such efforts. It catalyzes the work of healing. So now, dear friends, let's move to the mats. So let's just be with the breath, with the rise and fall of the breath. So we notice as we cycle through the breath over and over again, we have that inhalation, the expansion, and the contraction with the exhalation. We allow all of our concerns to drift away. We know that thoughts will come to mind, so we allow them to come. We acknowledge they're there, but we don't get attached to them. We allow them to move away. And we just return to the breath. The inhalation and the exhalation. So we talked about that anamaya kosha, that physical body. So we start here with the physical body and just working inwards. And as you rest here, just envision a brilliant light above the crown of the head, a brilliant white or golden or silver light. And as you inhale, allow that to enter the body through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, allow that light to flood the body. And then just bring your arms up in the air. Let the shoulders settle down onto the bolster. If you don't have the bolster and everything, you just do this on the floor with the legs straight. Otherwise, just bring your hands, or either way, bring your hands one to each elbow. Let that rest there, so we allow that to open up. Just taking a big breath, or two. And then drawing the arms back up and drawing the first finger and thumb together and making some circles with the hands. And then the other way. So just warming up the wrist a little bit. And then bring the palms upwards towards the ceiling, stretching. Make sure you can see your arms and they're not behind your shoulders. And then drop the fingertips, and then up, and then down. And once more, so getting that full flexion and extension of the wrist. And then coming to face each other, extend that long behind you. And exhale down. And just release your legs from the blocks and let them go long. If you're already there, that's great. And just begin to point the feet and flex them. Pointing and flexing a couple times, just warming up the feet and the ankles too. And then bring the heels apart and slide the toes together and just point those away. So just letting that rotation of the thigh happen. And then coming back and just wipering the feet back and forth as we open the hips up. And then coming back and just tap your legs, sliding the heels back and forth. That opens up behind the knees and really good for the legs. And once again, extend your arms and legs. And exhaling down. And then just bringing up the feet to the floor one at a time. And just for a moment, just bring if you're on the bolster or on the floor, just lift the buttocks and move the buttocks flush towards the heels. So we just kind of flatten out that back, making that nice pelvic tilt. And then just rock the knees side to side. And then coming back to middle and just extend the left leg and the left arm, stretching. And exhale down, and then extend the other side, stretching it, and coming back. And then just come up if you're on the bolster and move your bolster and end or if you're on a pillow, your pillow off to the side. And then just come down and just put your blocks up here so they'll be there when we need them. And bring the feet up to the floor one at a time, and then bring the knees into the chest. Bring the fingers pointing towards the feet, and inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. And then come forward and just make some little circles. So just moving along that lower back, that sacrum, and then coming and going the opposite way. So we bring that awareness, we think about what we're doing, and not just doing it, but actually thinking about where the body's touching the ground, and just rocking side to side. And then bring this foot down, bring the other right leg into your chest, and extend that up, and point and flex the foot, and just pressing the foot up towards the ceiling, and again pointing and flexing. So just stretching the calf, stretching the ham bone, and then bend the thigh towards the chest, and then extend it back up. And then drop that to a 90 degrees and let that come out to the side. Make sure this knee stays up and towards the ceiling. And just let that hip stretch a little bit. And then bring that back up. And bring that leg into your chest and extend the other one long. And then extend that leg up and point and flex it. And then allow this leg to come over and just rest the calf right on the block. So getting a nice stretch through the hip, maybe the IT band there, and just moving the head to the right, keeping the shoulders on the floor. Taking a big breath. And then bend the knee, bring that back in, extend your arms and legs long. Exhale down. Bring the feet up to the floor and draw the left knee into the chest and then extend that. Point and flex the foot a few times and then bend the thigh down to the chest and then push it up. Just pushing that way up so that we get that nice extension. And then bend that to 90 degrees. Let that come out to the side. Let that stretch that hip. And then bring that in, back into the chest, and let that go long. And then extend that left leg up. Point and flex it. Bend it down, push it up. And keep your other leg with the toes up and it's down on the ground as much as possible. And then bring this leg over and rest that on the block as we just stretch that hip. And let the head move over to the left. And then bend your knee, bring that back in, extend the arms and legs. Exhale down. And now just keep your left leg long and draw that left knee in. But then bring your left hand down to the floor and move that knee up towards the right shoulder. So move it up and out a little bit so we're getting a little different stretch through the hip and through the groin. And then let that go long and draw the left one in. And then let the right hand come down and just move that knee towards the left shoulder. Stretching that area. Beautiful. And then bring both feet to the floor. Cross the right leg over the left so that this knee and hip are in a straight line. And then you can either use your hands to lift, or if you feel your back is good enough, bring your palms down and just lift up without it. And see if you can just do that. And then I like to just inhale forward a little. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. Now, if this isn't good for your back, just modify, use your hands here to help you bring it up and back. Bring that down, other foot to the floor, and cross the opposite one over. Again, lining up the hip and knee, and bringing the palms down. Just draw that, or using your hands. And then inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. And bringing that down, uncrossing the legs. Once more, let's just lengthen the body. And exhale down. So let's bring those feet up again, and let's try bringing them straight up in the air. And you can bring your hands, palms down behind you, beside you, and just try crossing one over the other. So see if you can do that. And then bring your hands to the back of your thighs, wherever you can reach, and just extending up. Strengthening the back. And then bring your hands through and to the sides in Happy Baby. Just rock back and forth a little bit. And then try bringing your feet together and draw them in. And bring the feet to the floor. Lengthen the body. Exhaling. So let's roll over and just come up to a seated position. So I'm going to come here in Sukhanasana, the legs crossed. We try to get the feet under the knees as much as possible. And just bringing your hands up. Let's close the eyes for a moment. And let's just do a couple of Ujjayi breaths. So in Ujjayi breath, we just make a little constriction at the back of the throat. It sounds like we're whispering almost. It's that kind of a noise compared to the ocean. It's also known as Victoria's breath. So in this, we just do that constriction, just closing the eyes and taking that breath. And then just bringing one hand down and the other up. Just move to the side. But as you do that, keep that other side, the buttocks down on the floor. And then just bring that arm back and bring it over again. And then come down, bring the palm towards the floor and just stretch over and back and over and back. And come up. Come up with the other arm. Extend over. Nice stretch, keeping that other side down, and then back and over, and down and over. And then coming back, moving the palm towards the floor, over and back, and over and back, and coming up. Extend the arms with the fingers interlaced up. Exhale down, round the shoulders. Inhale up, exhale back. Inhale up, exhale back. Inhale up, exhale back. Now let's come up. Let's take the blanket off and let's come to our knees for a minute. So come into table. We know that the shoulder's right over the wrist. Hips right over the knees. We make sure that the fingers are either parallel or slightly outwards when we're into these positions on the floor, and that they're not turned in this manner. Okay, so right here, let's do a cat-cow. We inhale, flat back. Exhale, round and tuck. Inhale up. Exhale, round up. Come to a flat back, tap the feet. Extend one foot and rock the toes, just opening the feet up. Usually feels really good. And then coming back, extend that other foot and rock that foot back and forth. And then coming back. Let's move into down dog. So move the hands forward of the shoulders. The pinkies should be just about at the edge of the mat. Again, watch your index fingers where they are. The arms are here, but as we come up into the position, the inside of the elbow moves forward. Tuck the toes. Make sure they're wide enough apart. A lot of people go too narrow. Curl the toes, tuck them, come up into downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And then walk your heels up and down. Good. Very nice. And then come up on the toes and then let yourself settle into your downward dog and just take a few breaths. And then try moving your toes, a little pigeon-toed. So move them in a little bit. And then move them back, just to get that sensation. And now move into a side plank. Now, you can drop that back knee if you need to. And otherwise, you can just come to the sides of your feet, just extending and lengthening the body. And really just making sure that the hip doesn't sag down. It does want to after a while. And come back. And if you're if you can, roll to the opposite side and just take a few breaths here in side plank or one arm balance. And then coming into it and try your chaturanga. Again, you can drop your knees if you need to. You can always modify, but if not, come down all at once, knees, chest, chin. Beautiful. And then bring your hands beside your chest and push into upward dog. And if you can, up into upward dog, lifting the hips if you're able. If not, stay down here. If you can, come up. And then move to child's pose. But make your knees a little wider than usual. So you can bring a little block if you like, rest your head. Beautiful. And then just remove your block. And staying here with this wide-legged position, walk your fingers forward and cup them. Make sure you get a nice cupping going on so that you get that nice wrist strengthener. And just let your head not be on the mat, but just looking downwards, and stretch your shoulders. So move back towards your buttocks as you stretch the shoulders. Perfect. And then coming up. So let's come up to standing. And today, let's try Warrior Two by stepping wide first. So we come into this position, we get the legs as wide as we can get them. The feet are even and parallel. So there's a lot, you really have to train the feet to stay even and parallel, and that happens over time. And turn one foot out and the other heel slides back, toes come in. Extend the arms away from one another. Nice expansion and extension as the spine stays long. And then bend the forward knee in Warrior Two. And just take a few breaths here. Make sure that your knee stays towards the little toe side. Make sure that back leg stays nice and strong. It wants to collapse. Front thigh parallel to the floor. Take a breath. Straighten the front leg. Now cut back with that hip as you extend and lengthen the spine and come into Trikonasana, triangle. Just taking a breath there. Come up, hands to the hips, feet to center. Hop or walk to the middle. Inhale, round the shoulders. Exhale, back. Inhale up. Exhale, back. Inhale up. Exhale, back. Bring your shoulders to your ears. Exhale, ha. Ha. Inhale up. Exhale, ha. Inhale up. Exhale, ha. Beautiful, and step wide again. Let's do the other side. We always do the other side, right? Even, parallel. Turn that other foot out and the back one in. The torso faces forward, but don't yank it. It kind of comes that way. Extend your arms, and sometimes it helps to lean back with this opposite arm in order to keep the torso level, because sometimes people want to come forward. So if you pull back a little, it helps with that cause. And then bend that knee, front knee. And just looking out over that hand, nice and strong, long and strong but relaxed in Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. And then straighten the front leg, extend out and come into Trikonasana. And then upward. Okay, today we're going to try something a little harder today. So we'll try Ardha Chandrasana, which is half moon. So we're going to do it with the block, because that's how I do it. So again, we step wide. I like to start way down the end of the mat, because when you reach, you're over here. So rather than the middle of the mat, I start down here. And again, we do the same thing. We turn that foot out, back one in, right? Extend the arms, same starting position. This is more similar to Trikonasana than Warrior 2, because you don't really bend that front knee until later. So we have the full extension. As we do, we cut back with that hip, right? We cut back, we reach, and then as we come into the final part, we, oops. Turn that foot out, the other back, extend the arms. And then as you reach, coming up into Ardha Chandrasana. So just allowing the leg to be long and strong, one arm stacked over the other, and just taking a breath. So just take some strength in that standing leg. And then coming down and back up. So let's try the other side. Step wide. Turn the front foot out, back one in. Extend the arms, reach, and bring the block to the floor as you lift that back leg. And just taking a breath here. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. And then coming down. Okay, great, that was good. Now we'll move to the front of the mat. Let's come here and let's come to a position where the feet are even, parallel. And step back with your right foot angled out slightly. Let your torso be facing the front. Extend the arms by your ears, bad shoulders out here, down here, whatever it takes. Bend the forward knee. Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Just holding it there, taking a breath. And then drop the arms and straighten the legs. Bring the hands to the hips and step back into position. Inhale up on your toes. Exhale down. Again, up. Strengthening the feet. And exhale down. Hands to hips. Step back with the left foot angled out a bit. Torso moving forward. Arms up. Bend that front knee. And Virabhadrasana 1. Lengthen. Remember to lift up as we settle down, that dynamic, that oppositional force of yoga. Breathing. Not forgetting to breathe. Bring the hands to the hips. Step forward. Beautiful. Okay, let's do a little bit. We do our little flow sometimes, so we'll do that for a minute. Inhaling up. We exhale and fold. We inhale, bring the arms halfway, not past the shoulders. Exhale down. Inhale, push. Exhale. Inhale. Fold. Wings up. Wings down. Push. Exhale to prayer. Inhale. Fold. Arms up. Arms down. Push. Exhale. Once more, inhale. Exhale. Arms up. Arms down. Inhale, push. Exhale to prayer. And release. So let's now put our blanket down and come down for a few moments of meditation and Shavasana. So just laying your blanket back down, and if you have a bolster, you can have that nearby, and your pillow or just your pillow, so that we're ready for that. And let's just come to a seated position for one moment. Let's bring the hands up. And let's bring the index finger and the thumb together in the mudra of wisdom and intelligence, increasing our intelligence and our intuition and all of that. So let's just inhale to begin, and we'll say 2 ohms. Release the hands. Bring your attention to your solar plexus at the top of the abdomen. We envision a yellow light there emanating throughout the body. And we'll do 1 Ram, the seed sound for that chakra. Inhaling now. Ram. And now let's move to Shavasana, bringing the pillow under your head and the bolster under your legs. For a moment, we draw our attention to the back of the body and just allowing that to sink into the rug, into the mat. We Just leave the agenda aside for now as we focus on the breath. We are with the breath. We are with the rise and the fall of the breath. As we inhale, we draw in a sense of serenity and peacefulness. As we exhale, we let go, we surrender, we release. We notice all the points at which the body touches the floor. And then we soften the top of the body, the front of the body, just letting it rest. We just rest the mind. And very, very gently, we begin to move the fingers and the toes. And then we'll roll to our side and just rest there a moment. And we rest with a feeling of gratefulness. And then keeping your sense of serenity, come to Sukhanasana, simple seated position. Bring the hands to heart center and bow the busy, thinking, intelligent, corporate mind to the more intuitive wisdom of the heart. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way home. Namaste. Thank you.